host, Jonathan Mooney, and I'm here with...
Paul A. presents and knows the Moo Cow, Tramoo.
Tramoo. And here we're also with...
Lady.
Lady, get up.
Hi, lady.
Say hello.
Ah, you lazy dog.
She is underneath over by Paul.
Begging.
You can't see. And we're also with...
Continuity monkey.
Yeah.
That rascal. That troublemaker.
Alright, anyway. He just stuck his tail up at you guys.
Of course he did.
Alright. We're here to talk about...
Troma!
And our top 10 Troma
Absolutely.
movies.
Troma's been in the business a nice long time. In a way, they kind of revolutionized the whole business of independent and low-budget film. They made a whole bunch of movies in the past, and then they became distributors for a lot of other people who just were sick of the way Hollywood was making stuff and said, hey, we're going to make our own damn movie. So it's been a great place to do sort of like a one-stop shopping for all kinds of independent films and all kinds of stories and movies and things that just would never have been made if it hadn't been for the Troma guys and for Lloyd and all those others to actually make this a place for other independent artists to come out and do their thing. So we're all very grateful that Troma exists and that they've been such a fixture throughout the years in the independent cinema world.
Exactly. Troma's been there since the 80s. Yeah, 80s. Like, I was trying to say, I thought 70s, but...
They did some stuff before that, and they certainly distributed some movies that were there before that.
Yeah, definitely. But I guess Toxic Avenger put them on the map.
Yes, definitely.
And then they kind of, after that, they kept going. You know?
I think 73, Sugar Cookies was the first one that they actually did.
I don't think Lloyd... I think they just distributed it later. I don't think they... had anything. I think Lloyd worked on it or something, but and then it had it distributed. There's also like Cry Uncle, and a few other films that were back in that day that they didn't actually like produce.
That's right. Make your own damn podcast.
All right. He should launch one. Make your own damn podcast.
That'd be great.
I would help out with that.
Sure.
Very, very, very glad to do that.
But anyway, just because there are so many Troma movies that we've enjoyed over the year, either the ones they made themselves or the ones that they distributed, we decided to do this top 10 list. And so we are going to present that to you now, starting from 10 and going all the way up to 1.
Without further ado, Paul, you go first.
Okay, so my number 10 film from Troma is Terra Firma from 1998. If you've ever seen Robert Altman's The Player, that's kind of what this movie reminds me of. It's kind of like the Troma version of The Player, sort of like a commentary on the movie business in and of itself, and in this case, on the independent movie in and of itself. And it's weird and wacky in the best Troma way that they always do their stuff, so it's a lot of fun.
Now, just so you know, we're not doing like our top 10 Lloyd Kaufman movies,
Right.
even though that is a Lloyd Kaufman film. We are doing top 10 Troma, so this does not necessarily have to be a Lloyd Kaufman directed film or whatever.
Right. If you go to their website and you see it listed as on their films, it's fair game.
Yep. So, without further ado, my number 10 one is Surf Nazis Must Die.
Classic.
Oh my god, I remember renting that movie from the video store and absolutely loving it. It is so off-the-wall, weird, and goofy, and fun.
It is.
If you have not seen Surf Nazis Must Die, I know I saw it when I saw it at the video store, it had like some guy on a surfboard with a machine gun, and I just thought that was just awesome, so I had to rent that.
It's a classic 80s Troma film.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's in my list too someplace.
Oh, well, nice. All right.
All right, so number 9 for me is an odd film, of course. Number 9, Luther the Geek, 1990. It's sort of a very interesting sort of mashup on sort of carnival geeks and serial killers, with the aforesaid Luther being the all-metal teeth-wearing, chicken-clucking serial killer. And one of my favorite things about this movie is the fact that at the end, where he's got Stacy Hyde quartered in the farmhouse, it's an all chicken clucking dialogue to end the film. They both just cluck away, and it's so weird. It's so bizarre. Well, hopefully we'll get to do that one on Indie Film Cafe. It's just strange.
Sounds strange. All right. My number 9 is Redneck Zombies. Now, if you listen to my reviews of the Chris Seaver movies, I talk about how I'm not a big fan of rednecks. I'm not. But there are a few movies that usually get me when they kind of parody rednecks and stuff, and you can tell these guys are not actually rednecks that play it. Actually, I believe the film was shot in Maryland, if I'm correct. So Pericles Lunes, who made the movie, he and that crew was up in Maryland. I think he might have co-directed. But anyway, that movie was so fun and goofy and silly and just off the wall. Very, very Troma.
A little gross too, as I recall.
It's gross. But it's a zombie movie.
Right. So
which I'm not even a fan of zombies. Those are the two things I don't like, and I love this movie. So that
Go figure.
That is powerful. You know, when a movie can transcend two things I don't like, and they're both in the title of the movie.
Awesome.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, so moving on to number 8, one of my favorites, a nymphoid barbarian in dinosaur hell. A, because it's one of the greatest movie titles of all time, and then B, Brett Piper, of course, is one of my favorite indie directors. This is where he sort of made his bones, and the whole thing with all the dinosaurs, the stop-motion dinosaurs, I just think it's really, really cool. And then I also, I mean, it's another classic from the 80s. I happen to fall in love with, I think the character name was Tala. I forget the name of the actress, but she was so just a great, great character. And she wasn't taking any crap from anybody else. She wasn't being like some helpless female. She was grabbing swords and kicking ass just like the guys were. And I really appreciated that. And, you know, early 80s, that was kind of a thing. So, fun.
Sounds fun. Just that title.
Oh, yeah.
All right, number 8 for me, Sergeant Kabuki Man, NYPD. A very, very fun movie. If you've not seen the movie, just so you know, it was meant to be originally rated. Originally, Lloyd wanted a rated R, like he wanted an R-rated movie. The investors who made it wanted it like PG-13, something that kids could see, something very much like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that could have like merchandising and different stuff like that.
Because you gotta have the merchandising.
Right. So the company that paid for it ended up giving it to Troma to do whatever they wanted, and that was a big mistake. Because the movie is fun, and it's so goofy and off the wall and weird, and it's hilarious, but it is Troma.
Right.
It is a Troma movie through and through. But it's also a little tamer than a normal Troma movie.
True.
If you look at it, there's like scenes that you can tell they're holding back. You know, there are things, but there are scenes that they do not hold back on. So, you know, they try to go overboard, but not too much. I think if Lloyd had, you know, more say, the movie would have been way more over the top and goofy and silly and not as kind of mainstream as it was.
Well, maybe they could have made Sergeant Kabuki Man 2. That would have been good.
Well, they were going to do one. It was going to be in LAPD. It was going to be, I believe it was going to be him in LA.
And I know the Kabuki Man character shows up in a couple other films. I know he's in Terra Firma, for example. And I think he pops up elsewhere. In the Troma universe. And
if you go to like Cannes Film Festival or anything where Troma is, or any convention that Troma is, there is a Sergeant Kabuki Man there, just as there's a Toxie and all that other stuff. They definitely do have really good merchandising and stuff ideas. Merchandising. All right, so
good stuff.
Next one.
Okay, moving on to number 7, one of my favorites. Killer Condom from 1996. Yet another strange, bizarre film. Just the idea of there being this sort of alien killer condoms that are, infecting and hurting people is fun. But then to see the actual little condoms squiggling around on the ground is just one of those moments that's like, oh my God, this is pure genius.
That's one we'll have to review without Jen.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm afraid so.
Yeah, she probably wouldn't like that.
But it's a fun movie, trust me.
It is. It is definitely a fun movie. I remember watching that. Once again, seeing it at the video store and a movie called Killer Condom.
Who could pass that up?
Right. I miss the video stores. We'll have to do a video about.
I wish you could just. If I had $1 billion, I would just open one for the hell of it and just have movies, all kinds of movies in all different formats. I don't care if it made money or not.
I don't think you need $1 billion to do that, but I I think it might be a while before you see any profit because people are so.
Well, I wouldn't be doing it for profit. I'd be just to have it.
Yeah. Number 7 for me, Cannibal the Musical.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's a classic.
Absolutely.
Trey Parker, Matt Stone, pre-South Park. Basically, they had this. They shot a film in school. They shot it in what is it? I think they were in. Is it Utah or something, or one of those? Colorado, or oh no, they're in Colorado. Anyway, they were shooting these, this student film basically, and they decided to make a musical, and they took all of their like school's equipment. I don't know if they were even allowed to do it, but they took all their school's equipment, went out and made a movie. Cost them $100,000 or something.
Didn't know it was that much.
Yeah, it was pretty expensive. And then they ended up, looking all over for it. Nobody knew who they were. They weren't famous at the time. So somebody suggested try Troma. And Lloyd came in and said, I'll do it, but you're not going to get any profit off this movie. People are just going to be able to see it and everything. And they did that. And I think it helped them a few.
Definitely.
Having done a movie or whatever, and having something under their belt. But people just weren't interested in it really, and so they ended up doing like Christmas cards because it became friends with all these people in LA, and then they sent out Christmas cards and they ended up making South Park. After South Park got made, Troma actually decided to put it out. Like they sat on it, I think, on the shelf for a while, and then they put it out. And then,
it's probably a wise move.
Yeah, it wasn't. It's not the greatest movie of all time, and the reason why it's number 7 on my list is because I absolutely love it. I think it's so out there and weird and crazy and funny. Like I quote all the songs, all the lines.
Songs are great.
I know, and like these guys obviously went on and made a freaking Broadway musical, so you can tell even when they were first starting out that they had some chomps on this.
Absolutely. It's a very fun movie. It almost made my list. I would say it's probably on my honorable mention. But it just didn't quite crack the top 10 because there's just so many good Troma movies, so many fun movies. Just didn't quite make it.
Okay, you're next.
So my next number 6 is kind of an obscure one. It is Wizards of the Demon Sword, 1991. Now, if there's one thing I'm a sucker for, it's a good pecs and polearm sword and sorcery disaster movie, and that's really what this is. This is a terrible, terrible fantasy movie, and in the same way that Road Warrior sort of begat a whole bunch of these bad, low-budget, sort of dystopian future movies. Same thing the way Conan in the early 80s begat a whole slew of bad, cheap fantasy sword and sorcery movies. Yeah. And this is one of the cheesiest. It's just so silly and weird, but I can't help it. I like it. It's one of my favorites.
Awesome. Sounds good.
We'll have
never
to do
even
that
heard
one.
of it. Yeah,
oh,
that sounds like something
obscure.
I would love. All right. Number 6 for me, Zombiegeddon.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about
Have you ever seen it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I forgot
We'll
about
definitely
it.
have to do another review. We'll have to do a review of that for the show. I love that movie. Absolutely love it. It is so crazy. I'm friends with the director of it, Chris Watson. I'd heard about this movie because of Make Your Own Damn Movie.
Right.
What is it? The DVD set had Chris Watson there, and so I interviewed him, and or Chris Watson. And I watched the movie, and I love it. It's got Tom Savini. It's got a barrage of B-movie people,
right,
like Tom Savini, Linnea Quigley, Brink Stevens, Robert Zadar. I mean, just a whole list of them. So, all right. Here's next one.
So, cracking into the top 5. My number 5 is one we've actually already mentioned, 1990s, Sergeant Kabuki Man. It's like Jonathan said, it's just a fun, wacky movie, and yet at the same time, you definitely had the feeling that it could have been even more over the top if they had been allowed to do it. If the second one had ever gotten made, I'd be very curious to see what it'd be like with all the stops, being held. But I still liked it as it was. I thought it was very clever. And I know that Troma has a sizable fan base in Japan as well. I know Taxi was really super popular over there, so in a way this movie kind of gives a nod to the sort of Japanese fans over there and gives them a character that they can also enjoy. So it was a fun movie.
Definitely. All right, number 5 for me starts a whole thing. I not all the rest of these are all Lloyd Kaufman movies, so just so you know. Number 5 is Class of Nukem High, which Lloyd Kaufman wasn't originally the director of.
Oh.
He became a co-director with this guy because from what I read about, he and the other guy, or the other guy just was new and was not able to corral all the crew to, like, you know, get behind him on everything, and they wouldn't listen to him necessarily. So Lloyd came in and kind of helped do that. But it is, oh my God, if you have not seen Class of Nukem High or Part 2 or 3 or the Return to Nukem High, I know I've seen Volume 1, but I haven't seen Volume 2 yet. Can't wait to see that, and I need to get them eventually. So yeah, Class of Nukem High, great movie, just really off the wall weird.
It's another classic '80s movie that Troma
Monster.
did, and it just didn't quite make my list as well. Again, would have been on the honorable mention, but yeah, I had a lot of fun with that film too.
Right.
Number 4 again has already been mentioned. Surf Nazis Must Die, another classic Troma '80s movie. I love the idea of the whole surfing, with machine guns and having these awful surf, gangs that were all fascists as well. And everybody had the mohawks, and it was just sort of a thing. And it was like one of my high school thrills was watching that movie back in 1984. So it's got a nostalgia factory for me as well. So a lot of fun. I don't want to rehash what we've already talked about, but it's definitely in my top 10. Now it's number 4, as you can see. So fun movie.
All right, number 4 for me is another war one. It's Troma's War, which originally was like my number 1 for a little while. But I guess we'll talk about that closer to the number 1 spots or whatever. But no, it's a really good movie. Very fun. If you like Rambo and all these different, I just watched Delta Force last night for the first time, and it kind of reminds. That movie reminds me a little of that.
I would just say, I think it out Delta Force is Delta Force because there's so many explosions and guns going on. It's insane.
It's insane. That movie is crazy, but I love it. It's just it's one of the fun war movies, and Lloyd does such a great job directing that movie, and so I need to have that on Blu-ray, but unfortunately it's like $25 for Blu-ray.
I know. Well, we were actually talking about doing that one, and we debated it, and it's a lot of fun, especially if you're in the mood for just straight up mindless violence, and who isn't every now and again. This is a perfect film for that. Then we ended up going with Romeo and Juliet because that's a really good movie too.
Yep.
But Troma's War is fun. So now we're getting into the top 3, and another obscure and very strange one for me, number 3, Yeti, A Love Story.
Oh my God, I remember that.
Okay, I don't know that you're gonna run into too many love stories that are quite like this movie. Yeah, it's hard to sort of describe this in kind of a child-friendly kind of way, so I won't get into too much details, but the fur is a-flying in this particular film. Let's put it that way.
I think, isn't that the tagline?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And yeah, he's a frisky little snowman, a bobble snowman, that's for darn sure. Kind of along the same ways that you might end up seeing later on with Chris Seaver's Sex Squatch, only very different because Chris Seaver and Troma are still different. But if you like your abominable snowman, kind of weird and sexy and crazy, and who doesn't, this is definitely a film that's right up your alley.
Definitely. All right. So, given that's actually kind of a theme right now, because with kind of creature feature kind of thing, my third one's Poltergeist. That movie is was it Night of the Chicken Dead?
Right.
And it is so goofy, and it's so weird, it is so funny. It's got some great moments. Yeah, over the top. It's got some great moments to it. But I have a really special part of my heart for it because I got to be friends with a few people that actually worked on it and have said great things about working on it. I mean, if you look at the making of videos and stuff, it is hell to work on a Troma movie. But they enjoyed it. I mean, they got something out of it. A lot of people do it because they just they love Troma, and they want to help out. So, Poltergeist.
There you
so
go.
What's your number two?
Number 2 happens to be Poltergeist, because for the exact same reason.
I had a feeling it was gonna be too early.
Oh yeah, and especially there are some scenes. I know exactly some of the scenes. I'm sure you understand that I like. The bathroom scene in particular is just so over the top and so gross. And
Joe
it's just
Flyshaker,
yes,
man, rest in peace.
My goodness, that is like his tour de force scene. And once you see it, you will never unsee it, and it's just amazing.
Just you talking about it, I'm like bringing back memories. It's just gross.
So yeah, that in and of itself ranks it high for me. But just the whole movie is just a lot of fun, and I gotta love the idea of undead chickens coming back to life after being fried and such, and attacking customers, and it's just goofy and fun.
Funny side note, there was an episode of Real Ghostbusters that was called Poltergeist.
Nice.
And it actually scared me as a kid. Because it was literally about a chicken, it was a chicken ghost who was haunting people. But he was also possessing, like he possessed Egon or whatever.
As they do.
Yeah, and then, whatever. So it was funny. I think that's a hilarious title, and I love that movie. My number 2. Toxic Avenger. So the Toxie is my number 2.
Original Toxie.
The original Toxic Avenger. And the only scene I don't like in the whole movie is I think they shoot a blind dog or something.
Yeah.
Or a dog, not blind dog, but a dog that helps the blind person out and stuff. And I'm not really big on... I understand like people doing that for shock value or whatever. And obviously they didn't really shoot the dog, or whatever. But that kind of stuff always gets on my
Animal
nerves a
violence
little
is
bit.
never fun.
I never liked it. That's why I'll never watch Cannibal Holocaust. I've heard that there was a turtle that was just literally destroyed and killed, and
there are a couple animals in there.
Yeah, I will not watch that. I like if they were real, especially if I hear that they're real. No, not gonna see.
No, that's a movie that I would probably reserve for more of extreme cinema night. It's got some nasty stuff in there, but
count me out on that.
Right, but the Troma, this movie is really good, and I may as well just go ahead and say, it's my number 1 Troma film.
Nice.
It's classic. It's the movie that sort of set up Troma and made their bones. I love the whole thing where the sort of nerd becomes this massive superhero, and yet it's in a twisted kind of way. He's got his mop bucket and his tutu and his dead eye, and it's just so funny, and just the way that the town reacts, and I love how he just becomes an icon, and he gets put in all these films, and I love the blind girlfriend that falls for him, and it's got a lot of heart. It's it's a movie that doesn't just focus on buffoonery. There's a lot of heart to it. The story's really good, and it's just one of my favorite movies. So full marks.
So my number 1 is Tromeo and Juliet, the movie we're going to be watching.
It's a good movie.
Today. I didn't just do it because it's the movie that we're going to be watching. It's literally my favorite of all now, because it was written by James Gunn and directed by Lloyd Kaufman, and I think James and Lloyd co-wrote it together. And you can kind of tell the Lloyd parts, and you can kind of tell the James parts, I think. He kind of tries to put it a little bit more mainstream, a little bit more, right? And Lloyd keeps bringing it back to Troma, so traumatizing it.
Anchoring it in the ridiculous.
Traumatizing it.
Traumatize.
But it was so good. I'm friends with Will Keenan. I'm friends on Facebook with was it Jane Jensen, a few other people that were in it. And they are just wonderful people, and they're just wonderful actors. It's just the best cast. Tiffany Shepis' first role and stuff, and I think she was actually not, I don't think she was 18 yet. I think she was 17 or something, when she was in it. So she technically shouldn't have been in it, or something, but that didn't stop her from wanting to be in a Troma movie. So people do that all the time.
And plus, give them credit. This is not just a Troma movie. This is a Troma Shakespeare movie, and it actually follows the story fairly close. You'd be very surprised. It was very, very well done. It could easily have made my top 10. you know, there's just so many to choose from. It's really difficult.
It's tough. I mean, I think you did a great job in your top 10.
I think you did too.
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of them we actually both like, you know, and share the common thing with. I think it was like 5 that we shared.
Yeah, something like that.
It's close to
ranked a little differently, but you know.
Right. Well, happens. Yeah, and I think that's even better because like they still made our top 10, but it's just in a different order. Like I like Surf Nazis Must Die, but I don't think it's number 4 or whatever. I think you thought it was number 4.
Right, and for me, so much of that is the nostalgia factor because I was a senior in high school when it came out, and it was like the thing for me to see that. So yeah, it's different.
Yeah, and I didn't have Terraformer, but that's definitely on my.
It's fun.
On my like top list, you know, and stuff like that.
So we're very interested, of course, to know what your top 10 favorite Troma movies are.
What your favorite Troma movies are.
Absolutely.
Period. You don't have to do a top 10. Just send us.
Let us know.
Let us know what your favorite ones are, and we will. We'll let you know what our thoughts on them are.
And if you think that there's a Troma movie out there that we should definitely take a look at and review, let us know.
Let us know. We'll go get it.
Absolutely.
And everything. And Troma, if you're watching, Lloyd and everybody, send us some stuff and we'll review them.
Absolutely. You know? We certainly will.
So, and you people out there who are just filmmakers who are out there scraping by and trying to be like the next Troma, send us your films. We'll watch them.
Absolutely.
We've already got some people interested in sending us some stuff. So, the more the merrier, I say.
Absolutely. And you will get an honest critique from us. Absolutely. Totally honest critique. So you can expect it.
And if you don't want us to say an honest critique, that's fine with us too. I mean, then we won't review it. But thank you guys so much for checking this out. And go listen to our Romeo and Juliet.
Absolutely.
One that comes out this day, Wednesday. Come check it out. So thank you guys for checking this out.
All right. Bye.